Okay, so I recently finished this sketchbook, so I thought I'd do a sketchbook tour for you. I started this in, pretty sure, yep, November 21, so this time last year I started this book, and it's taken me a year to finish, but yeah, it's nice and full now, so I thought I'd give you a bit of a tour. So just to give you the details, this is a Kunst and Papier watercolor sketchbook. It's 160 GSM and it's about 6 centimeters square, so it's 24 by 20 by 6 centimeters, so yeah, it's not quite square, it's more rectangle than square, but it's not like totally landscape. It's a bit of an interesting size. I actually don't mind this size. It was actually quite a nice size to work in, and I was able to take it with me in my handbag quite easily. The paper, being 160 GSM, is not super thick, but it does hold a lot of wet media quite well, so you know, that was good. I don't actually remember where I even picked this up. I think I just bought it from my local art shop. So yeah, I don't remember where I got it from or how much it was. It's been a year, I don't remember. But anyway, it's been a good little sketchbook. This has been the sketchbook that I kind of have taken with me when I've gone away on holidays or gone off to, like, if I'm teaching interstate, I'll bring this with me to just, you know, sketch in or play around in while I'm not working. And so it's been all over the place, and there's a lot of mostly watercolor, but there's some other, you know, some pencil stuff, and yeah, there's a bit of everything. So I'll give you a tour. So those that have seen my sketchbook tours before, you'll know that I am not a neat sketchbook person. I don't use my sketchbook to make beautiful spreads and to have everything look really nice and cohesive. It's a bit of a jumble. I pick it up and I put it down quite a lot. There's no rhyme or reason to the subject matter. There's illustrations and studies and all sorts of things in here, and I generally just use it as somewhere to paint or draw or be creative when I'm on holidays or I'm not working. So it's not really, I mean, some of the artworks in here I did sort of studies of artworks that I then made larger, but generally speaking, I don't use my sketchbook as a resource to work from in other artworks a lot. Sometimes I will use sketches and things as inspiration for artworks, but really it's just for fun. That's what it's here for. So I'm going to go through this with you all today and talk about all the artworks that are in it. So, as I mentioned, I started this on the 12th of the 11th, 2021. And this first page was just a watercolor study that I did. I did this, I remember, just to test out the paper quality, just to see what you know, what the paper would do with watercolor, and it worked quite well. Like, this is the other page. You can see it hasn't bled through or anything like that. The color's really vibrant. This would have been Daniel Smith watercolors, so there's a bit of granulation, but the paper is actually quite smooth. There's a little bit of a texture to it, but it's not super textured. So granulations and things don't really work that well, but the color is really nice, and it's quite a vibrant paper. Like, it, some papers can make watercolors look quite dull, but this seems to retain the color quite nicely. So yeah, this was just a quick study that I did in watercolor. And again, this is a watercolor still life study that I did. I think I did a sketch on this side. I may have been planning on elaborating this further and didn't. And then I ended up doing this. So this would have been from life, because I know I've got that pot at home, and I've got this at home as well. So, and these are probably flowers from my garden. So this was the 26th of the 11th. Yeah, and this is just watercolor. I've got some ink sketches. It looks like this is, I remember this was a fountain pen that I purchased, that I wanted to do sketching with. And so I kind of tested it out in here, and then I think I tested it out a little bit actually, but then I actually lost the fountain pen. I don't know what I did with it after these sketches, and I can't find it. So anyway, while I was sketching with it, I really liked it. I added a bit of water to just get a bit of tonal variation to the sketch. These are just some hanging pots that I have at home. Here we have another watercolor study, just of, you know, a bit of a forest, abstract kind of forest happening. This is based on a drone photo that my partner took actually. This is, I think, looking over Yarra Junction, which is near where I live. That's the Wesburn football oval, I think. So there's a bit of mostly watercolor, a bit of pencil in here. This is just a quick study that I did just for fun. This is Wonboyne Lake in New South Wales. So this is based off a photo. Again, I was just practicing with acrylic. No, it's not acrylic, sorry, watercolor. I think that's what it's either watercolor or ink. I feel like it's watercolor though, so there's pencil in it as well. And here's another study with watercolor and pencil again. I think to begin with, I was just sort of playing around with the paper and getting different mediums in here to see what sort of happened with them. So this is Welshpool Long Jetty. This was the 31st of the 12th last year. So Welshpool is where we take our boat to go fishing. And so this would have been the Christmas holidays last year. The Long Jetty pier, this is obviously the beach, and you can sit in under the pier. It would have been a super hot day. I think my son was probably swimming just off here in the water, and so I was sketching the jetty, trying to capture all the shadows and colors underneath. So again, this is watercolor. This would have been Daniel Smith watercolors, because I kind of started purchasing them around this time and did this study. And yeah, here's another one. This is a bit of pen and watercolor. So you can see there's ink in some of those details, but mostly watercolor. And these are just some gestural sketches of my son playing in the water. This is, yeah, Port Welshpool again. Just doing some sketching on the wharf. So I remember this was actually raining on this day. So there's like some really interesting sort of raindrops that have sort of spread the watercolor in some spots, which I really like that effect. It's a nice effect. It's pretty. Let me see if I can zoom in. Yeah, like up on this roof here. It was interesting. Oh, hang on. Let me get it back into shot again. So yes, this was just some sketching that I did. Again, there's my son in the water. There's a scene. That's the beach. And there's my son and my stepson underneath the jetty. So this is another, this is pencil, I think, and watercolor. Oh no, maybe it's just watercolor actually. Yeah, it's just watercolor. This is a place called Tura, which is near Welshpool. Just a farmland scene. So now we jump to, hang on, the 1st. What was this? This was the 2nd of the 1st. So yeah, this is a few days later. So I must have come home again. And I'm doing some hydrangea studies. So this is gouache. and this is watercolor. And I know that I did do a Skillshare class on this artwork, but in oil. So these would have been color studies. So, yeah, so I'm looking at the light. It says use warm yellow light to contrast against the blue and purple tones. Just like little notes to myself for the coloring of that artwork. Okay, so now we jump to Cairns. So if you've looked at my Cairns vlog that I did at the start of this year, you might have seen the next few sketches, because this is the sketchbook that I took with me, and I have already done a bit of a sketchbook tour of these, so I won't, linger too much on these. But I took this with me when I went to Cairns, Far North Queensland, with my partner in February early this year. And so these were all mostly done plein air. Again, just watercolor. I only took like a couple of colors and my water brushes. These are just some of the flowers that were at the Airbnb that we stayed in. Again, a couple of really quick studies and sketches that I did while we were sitting on the beach. This is the lookout from up on top of the hill down to the ocean. This is all of Cairns here. Palm Cove in Queensland. This was a quick little sketch I did of all the vines that were falling down and climbing in and up and over the trees in the rainforest. I found them really interesting, and I still want to do excuse me, some studies of and some bigger paintings of these vines and these trees. This is Barren Falls. There was no water falling over it at the time. Now, with all the rain that we've had, it's probably absolutely gushing, but at that time this year, or early in the year, it wasn't flowing at all. And now we come into some coral paintings that, again, we were up near the Great Barrier Reef, and I was doing some snorkeling, and I was quite inspired by all the corals. Again, some sketches I did on Fitzroy Island. Like I said, I'm skipping through these quite quickly because I do have a whole nother vlog showing these in a little bit more detail. So that was the end of the holiday. I don't know what's going on here. That's a bit of a weird abstract study, and I think these are oil pastels. Yeah, so I was obviously testing out some oil pastels on the paper. I don't know whether it's successful or not. Again, some random sketches and paint studies. This is ink. I think this is when I got the inks from somewhere. I think there's just acrylic inks, actually. I can't remember now. I'm hopeless at writing down notes in my sketchbook, obviously. So this is some swatching. Obviously, I got a few new watercolors. This is Potter's Pink by Winsor & Newton, and Cobalt Violet Hue by Schminky. And so I was obviously testing out and doing some color swatches and some quick little landscape studies in these colors. I don't know what that one is. It looks like a yellow ochre maybe. It's not, again, it's not listed because I'm terrible at taking notes. And here we have some random illustrations of some cute animals, just for fun. There's little hedgehogs and foxes. It's a whole page of bunnies. I think I was looking at some Skillshare classes on illustration, and they were going through some tutorials on how to draw these animals, so that's why there's so many of them. We have some little snail studies. These are quite cute. I really like these, especially this guy. I think he's super cute. See if I can zoom in on him. See? He's a happy little guy. That's just watercolor and pencil. That's what most of these illustrations are. Just some more random illustrations. Some cute kitties, and I was trying to work with pencil on here, but I think the paper's a little bit too textured, so I kind of gave up on adding too much pencil. It's not smooth enough. Now we jump to some tree studies in some really bright colours. Again, this is just watercolour. I think I was playing like a lot with the vibrancy, trying to work out colour studies. Little still life study, again in watercolour. Looks like there's a bit of another little study. So I think this was a colour study for a landscape class that I taught. I think I did this. This was when I was in New South Wales, Sydney, because I remember I bought these little salt and pepper shakers in Newcastle. So I think this was the study that I did for that class while I was there. So this was a bit of a colour study of that river scene. And then I painted these guys as well. This is in Coolangatta. Yeah, that's right, yeah, because this was when I was at the Gold Coast. So again, I was in the Gold Coast for another art class, like a workshop, and I was staying at the Painted View, which is a B&B owned by Gillian, who runs the classes. And so I was just doing some little sketches and things of the interior and the view out the window. Shelf, some of the flowers. This is pencil. This was for a 5-day, I was here for 5 days doing that workshop. So again, we have some more swatches. Obviously I got some more watercolors, some more Daniel Smith. We got manganese blue, ultramarine turquoise, which I love, that's a beautiful color. Prussian green, duo cactus flower, Jane's grey, that's a really lovely color too, I really love that one. Rhodonite genuine, English red ochre, fired gold ochre, and quinacridone deep gold. So these are just mixes of those colours, just to see what kind of colour combinations I could have. Some landscape studies, again in watercolour. This is in June of this year. I think I did a painting based on this. Yeah, similar sort of layout and landscape composition. What have we got? Some little mouse sketches. I don't know what's going on there. Bit of doodling. We have some more colour studies and swatching. We have some Holbein gouache here. Some swatching of that. I think these are different colours. I don't know why. I think I just stuck that in because I liked that colour combination. But this is Holbein gouache, a colour study. So Viridian, navy blue, rose violet, and light red bright. And I've just done a little mixture of all the colours with white and a bit of a landscape. So here we have some swatches of the Gradient Inks by Jane Davenport. Again, I have done another video talking about these in more detail, so I'm not going to linger too much on these, but they're really fun to paint and draw with. And so I think most of the next few sketches are based with those inks. So I've done some sketches of some flowers and just playing around with some really loose designs with those inks. A couple of random bumblebees, trying to be messy. We have some bird sketches. It looks like, I think I got some, these are the watercolor markers, I think, by the looks of it. Again, because I'm terrible at taking notes, it doesn't tell me anywhere what I've actually used for these, but I think that's what they are. I've got some foggy landscapes. These are using the Jane Davenport Gradient ink in these three colors, whatever they are. Okay, we have some more color swatches. Again, I've obviously gone shopping and I've gotten some more colors. I have, these are Hydrangea Aquarelle watercolors, so I've got Shire Blue and Forest Blue. These are like the super granulation ones, which I really like. I tested out some Dr. P.H. Martin's Hydrus watercolors. These are like liquid watercolors. So I've got I think this is Gambeige, Deep Rose Red and Phthalo Blue. And this is just a color wheel using these three colors so I can see what the mixtures are. And just playing around with the colors. I haven't actually used these very much. I kind of bought them and then forgot about them, so I should really get them out and use them a bit more. We have another little watercolor study. Another couple of watercolor studies actually of like trees and forests, and again, I think these are just watercolor. It might be a mixture of watercolor and ink maybe. This looks like that. One of these, the Shire Blue. So I was probably testing those out. We have a page with a random landscape and a duck. Who knows? Don't ask questions. This is a bit of a mixed media piece by the looks of it, with some marker, watercolor, pencil, a little bit of everything. So yeah, we have some swatching. Yeah, that's right. This was the travel watercolor palette that I put together. So again, this is in another video, so I've probably already talked about this, but this is basically all of my watercolors that I have at the moment and all the colors that I use the most frequently. I've got some mixtures here of seeing what happens when they blend together. I've got some sort of field studies and some grass studies with, it looks like, I think these are the Tombow markers that I have, and some of the, some pencils, luminance pencils. So quinacridone purple, Indian throne blue, cobalt green, and middle verdigris and yellow ochre. So some little sketches, some agapanthus sketches, the watercolor study of some oranges. This is a still life setup that I had, that I just did a quick sketch of because I was bored one day. Yeah, no, you know, nothing significant happening here. I'm just playing around. And now it's going to start raining and it's probably going to be really loud. So thank you for joining me on another video. I'm just going to finish off this video or this vlog with some footage of me painting another one of these tree artworks that I've painted recently, and talk a little bit about what's going to be happening over the next couple of weeks, because I am not really going to be doing much more painting for the rest of the year on a large scale like what I'm doing in my studio here at the moment, because on the 18th of November, I am going into hospital to have some minor surgery. I need to have my labrum on my hip repaired. So I have a labral tear. So it's the labrum is like the squishy sort of thing in between the bones in the hip, like in between the hip socket and the hip bone. And I've torn that, and it has been causing me grief for quite a few years now. I get a lot of pain in my leg when I'm standing. I can't walk for too long, or sit for too long, or drive for too long. And the time has come for me to finally have it repaired surgically. It is just an arthroscopic surgery, so it's not too, involved as far as the surgery goes, but the recovery time will take a while. I'll probably be off my feet for at least 4 weeks. Full recovery will be about 3 months. So I'm going to be doing the surgery and then taking a lot of time off between now and early next year, just to recover and to give myself a chance to heal and not stand very much. Obviously, I'm going to be walking around with crutches, so standing in the studio painting is not going to be an option. So this will be the last sort of painting vlog that I show for a little while. But I have been working a lot in the last few weeks on some new Skillshare videos. I've been filming a lot of footage and videos and classes that I can edit and upload while I am couch-bound. So I have filmed a lot of footage, and I will be releasing some classes over the next couple of weeks on both Skillshare and Teachable. And so, yes, you can kind of find some painting content over there instead of YouTube for a little while. I was going to sort of, I was thinking about maybe vlogging some of my recovery time, but honestly, I don't think it's really going to be that exciting. I'm just going to be spending most of the time on the couch relaxing, and that will spill over into Christmas and early New Year. So there's really not a lot of painting that happens over that time anyway. And so, yeah, that's what I'll be doing. I'll be recovering. So stay tuned on my Instagram and Facebook for updates on the Skillshare classes that I'll be uploading. I have one that I'm doing on sort of whimsical foresty landscapes, and I'm doing another class helping you create a better sort of flow in your studio, and how to sort of I don't know, I haven't even really thought of a name for this class yet, but it's basically some strategies to help you learn how to paint a bit faster and learn how to loosen up a little bit more. And so I'm working on that class as well. And yeah, so I'm hoping to finish up filming those in this next week or so before the 18th. And then I'll be focusing on editing those while I'm recovering. So yeah, so you may not see me on YouTube for a couple of weeks. If I'm not back before Christmas time, then I hope you all have a lovely Christmas and holiday period and New Year. And I will definitely be back doing more videos once I have recovered and I'm back in my studio for regular studio time. So until then, thank you for joining me. Thank you for listening and watching, and make sure that you give this video a like and a thumbs up, and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, because that sort of helps the channel get boosted a little bit, and it also makes the channel be put in front of other people that might be interested in watching. So that would be really helpful. And yeah, I will see you all in my next video, whenever that may be, in a couple of months' time.